the Lord was so gracious to show me that I needed to be patient and I needed to help her see what I saw because it was a vision He had given to me. It wasn't her vision, it was mine. Live your faith, build your business, and change your world. This is Live, Build, Change. In the words of the Truman Show, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, whatever time it is that you're listening to the Live, Build, Change podcast. I am so grateful that you're here, and I'm actually proud of you for taking this step to invest in your own growth, because that's really what you're doing. You're seeking out resources that can help you in both your faith journey and possibly in an entrepreneurial journey that God has placed on your heart, because that's what the Live, Build, Change podcast is about. It's about living your faith authentically. No more this fake churchy stuff. We're talking about real passionate following of Jesus Christ. And then building a business, perhaps, if you're being called to that by God and it's something in your DNA. And then integrating those two things, that faith and that business, to truly change the world. That's what we're about here at Live, Build, Change. So I'm proud of you for taking steps in that direction. If you ever need any kind of encouragement or help, please reach out to me. The best way to do that is through the Live, Build, Change Facebook community, which you can find at livebuildchange.com/FB, as in Facebook. And once you're approved, you can go in the community. You can tag me there in the community, and I would love to interact with you about what God's putting on your heart in terms of living your faith, building a business, and changing the world. And today, the topic that I want to talk to you about has to do with the cooperative effort that needs to exist between you and your spouse, if you're a married person. You see, when I got into the entrepreneurial world online, I was a pastor, and I started doing things kind of on the side, in the background, building websites, trying to earn a little extra income and things like that. And my wife did not have the benefit of some of the things that I had at that time. Because you see, it had probably been 6 to 8 to 10 months that I had started listening to podcasts on my commute from our home about 30 minutes away to the church where I worked. And I had been listening to some shows that were talking about building online revenue streams and building things that could last in a recurring income kind of a sense. And I was beginning to build in my own soul this optimism about building side streams of income for myself. And so I was becoming more and more confident that I could do this because I was hearing the success stories of other people who had done it. And they weren't superstars. They weren't people who had huge business backgrounds. They were everyday people, just like me, who kept trying things and kept testing things and kept stepping into new situations and new opportunities with an eye toward finding those things that worked for them. And so I was in the place where I was building confidence that I could do this. But my wife, as I mentioned, wasn't in that place. She hadn't had the benefit of hearing all the stories and hearing all the successes that people had over time. And she also didn't understand that many times building income from a revenue stream that starts online is a slow build. It's a slow churn that gets you there over time, and it takes a while. And she didn't realize those things. She didn't understand the whole dynamic of it. And so she didn't have a basis for having the same kind of confidence that I had, that these things I was staying up late at night working on were actually going to benefit us in the long run. I remember conversations that we had early on when it was starting to look like I was going to be moving out of pastoral ministry, and we didn't really know what that meant for us financially or career-wise. And yet I'm staying up every evening late, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, working on online things, trying to start generating a little bit of income. And I remember the conversations where she would say to me, she would ask me that question, why are you so sure this is going to work? Are you confident that all this time is not going to be wasted? It just feels like you're wasting your time staying up late. And At first, I mean, honestly, I have to say, I was a little resentful that she wasn't being more supportive. I was a little angry that she didn't get it. But it didn't take long before the Lord showed me she doesn't get it because she doesn't have the benefit of all those things that I talked about earlier. She hasn't heard the podcasts I've heard. She hasn't read the things I've read. She doesn't understand the concept behind content marketing and how giving valuable content to the ideal people that you're seeking to serve eventually turns around to make them customers or clients. She didn't get all of that. And so it was a series of difficult conversations we had to have where I was talking with her about what I was learning, and I was trying to be patient. I was trying to help her understand the things that I had come to understand. And it was more than just saying, well, you got to trust me. It was more than just saying, well, you're not supporting me, so why don't you just get behind it? I could have gotten an attitude like that, and maybe I had it a little bit at the very beginning, but the Lord was so gracious to show me that I needed to be patient and I needed to help her see what I saw because it was a vision He had given to me. It wasn't her vision. It was mine. And I wonder if maybe that's where you're at right now. Maybe the Lord is using my voice through your earbuds or through the speakers of your car to enable you to consider that you have a spouse that you need to bring along with you in this entrepreneurial journey, because it can be quite a source of conflict. Because your spouse won't understand why you're wanting to devote time to this financial thing, this business thing, this online thing, instead of spending that time with them, or instead of going to bed at your normal sleep time. Your spouse won't understand unless you help them understand. And this could go either way when it comes to gender. It could be male or female. Doesn't matter. If somebody is on the outside of the loop, they are going to feel kind of excluded from what's going on. And so I want you to think about that wherever you are in your business or entrepreneurial journey. Have you taken the time to build that relationship with your spouse in such a way and to nurture it in such a way that you're having conversations about these ambitions and these dreams that you have of changing the world through a business, and that you're explaining to them what's on your heart? You're sharing God's vision that you've received. You're actually explaining how online marketing works. Maybe if your spouse is the type to listen to podcasts, share with them a couple of the most impacting podcast episodes that you've listened to that have helped you get your brain around the idea of building side income or building a business over time that can not only support your family, but can also fuel the end results that you're wanting to create. And let me just say this, I think a big piece in getting your spouse on board, if they're not already on board, is going to be that change portion of your vision. It's the why behind what you're doing and the who that is motivating your why. You can go back to episode number 3 and hear about that, about your who needing to be bigger than your why. You can find that at livebuildchange.com/3. And if you need help in this, I would love to hear from you. What's the situation you're dealing with? What are the difficulties you're facing? What is the pushback that you're receiving from your spouse? And the easiest way to do that, like I've said before, is in the Live Build Change community. Go to livebuildchange.com/FB. And once you're approved to become a member, which is entirely free, you'll be able to tag me in a comment there inside the community and let me know a little bit about your situation. And let's talk about it. And I can almost guarantee you others in the community are going to step in and share their experience as well, because my experience may not mirror yours. Mine may not be exactly the same, but who knows? There's probably someone in the group who's very much in the same place you're at or has been, and can tell you from their experience and from the things that they've gone through some better ways to approach it or more effective ways to get your spouse on board with you. And I think we probably should address here at the end of the episode the possibility that your spouse doesn't get on board, that your spouse just doesn't buy it, doesn't believe it, doesn't, for whatever reason, feel that this is the right path for you and for them. what do you do then? Well, I think what I would counsel you in that situation is something I would counsel people in any walk of life when one or the other partner is desiring to move in a direction that the other partner, for whatever reason, doesn't feel comfortable about. And that is that you pause, that you slow down, that you continue having the conversations not with a desire to convince the other person or to pressure them into what you think is best, but with a desire to understand what's going on in that situation. Because 9 times out of 10, when someone has a reservation about a situation or a course of action, it's for one of 2 reasons. It's either number 1, they see or sense pitfalls that they are very concerned about and that they should be concerned about that you don't see. Or number 2, they don't really understand the situation. And we often fear or feel apprehensive about situations we don't understand. So it's one of those 2 things most of the time. So if your spouse just pushes back and resists and does not want to go there, that's a situation where you need to slow down. You need to have more patient conversations, more understanding-oriented conversations where you are asking questions and not in an inquisitor sort of a way or in a drill sergeant sort of a way, but truly wanting to understand what is it that your spouse is struggling with? What is it they don't understand? Or what is it they see that you don't see? Maybe there's some pattern in your past where you start things and don't finish, and your spouse is feeling apprehensive because this looks like just another one of those things to them. Let's be real here. We've got to deal with life the way it is and the people in our lives the way they are. And that especially goes for our spouses. So I would love to interact with you about this. Go to the Live, Build, Change community and let me know your situation and any questions you might have. And also, would you take the time right now, as we wrap up this episode, to think and pray real quickly about one person you know who could use the kind of encouragement, instruction, affirmation, and equipping that you're finding on the Live, Build, Change podcast. And once that person is in mind, would you quickly share this episode with them in a personal way? You can do that by using the app that you're using to listen to this podcast episode. Did you know that? You can swipe left or right on this episode, and you can find a sharing function. It usually looks like a little V with dots on the end of it, and choose email or text or a Facebook message or something like that, whatever is personal between you and that person, and share this particular episode and tell them why you're sharing it, what it is you think they will benefit from by listening to this episode. And tell them a bit of your experience with the podcast and why you think it would be beneficial to them like it has been to you. That is so much more impacting than sharing broadly over social media because you're putting a personal touch to it. And that is a way, believe it or not, that you can change the world. It's by reaching out to an individual because the world is made up of individuals, of people who you care about and who you want to see their lives improve and grow and change. And you can do that by sharing with that one person that God places on your heart right here at the end of this episode. Again, I'm so thankful that you've listened to this episode of Live, Build, Change. Reach out to me in the Facebook community. And until I talk with you again, go out and live your faith, build your business, and change your world.